Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Friday news dump. That's right, the weekend is here and most of Florida is flooded. It's gonna probably flood here too because it's been storming and raining here in the Netherlands as well. Welcome to Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start without any caffeine. So what have we put in our headlines today? Today on Before Coffee, as the Ukraine war enters a critical period, the EU moves ahead without the US.
And we're updating Hurricane Helene as it's turned deadly, and Newsmax has settled its lawsuit with Smartmatic.
Varadkar proposes a two-stage referendum process for Irish unification vote.
And we'll update the mayor of New York's indictment and the former mayor of New York getting disbarred.
What are the must-see films at this year's BFI London Film Festival? Euronews is going to tell us.
And it's a National Day of Forgiveness, so forgive me if I make a lot of mistakes today because I just woke up. It is September 27, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Never forget, but forgive. Okay. One thing I can't forgive, though, is the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. This is from Lauren Cook on AP News. Coming out of Brussels, as the war in Ukraine enters a critical period, the European Union has decided that it must take responsibility for what it sees as an existential threat to security in its own neighborhood, and is preparing to tackle some of the financial burden, perhaps even without the United States. EU envoys have been working in Brussels this week on a proposal to provide Ukraine with a hefty loan package worth up to 35 billion euros, or $39 billion. It was announced by the European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen during the trip to Kyiv last Friday, which was, if I remember correctly, the 20th of September. Crucially, this loan will flow straight into your national budget, she told President Volodymyr Zelensky. It will provide you with a significant and much-needed fiscal space. You will decide how best to use the funds, giving you maximum flexibility to meet your needs. Zelensky wants to buy weapons and bomb shelters and rebuild Ukraine's shattered energy network as winter draws near. Yeah, that sounds very important. You don't want people freezing to death in their homes. In international matters, particularly involving major conflicts, the EU rarely moves ahead without the US, but it hopes this decision will encourage others to come forward. Almost 1,000 days since their full-scale invasion, Russian armed forces are making advances in the east. Ukraine's army has a shaky hold on part of the Kursk region in Russia, which has provided a temporary morale boost, but as casualties mount, it remains outmanned and outgunned. On the political front, Zelensky hopes to secure support for a victory plan that might force Russian President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. He's trying to persuade U.S. President Joe Biden and other allies to help strengthen Ukraine's hand in any future talks. But as U.S. elections loom and polls suggest that Donald Trump might return to the White House in January, I don't know who they're asking in these polls, I guess everybody with a red hat, Trump has been critical of U.S. aid to Ukraine because he's best buddies with Putin. that's just a fact. That's not even
Putin's thumb.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a fact. On the 25th of September, he said Zelensky should have made concessions to Putin before the invasion began on 2022. I think they already made concessions. Remember when they got invaded in, I forget the place. I just forgot what it's called. The southern part of Ukraine that was invaded, what was that, 2016 or 2014? That was the concession to Putin before 2022. Most of the 27-nation EU fears that a Putin victory would lead to a deep uncertainty. Russia's armed forces are depleted and currently incapable of another war, but the prospect of future land grabs in Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania or Poland remains. Yeah, but unfortunately, because of the EU and also probably NATO, none of these countries can directly help Ukraine. Because if they help, then it's going to become a world war, right? If Poland actually sends troops, if Estonia actually sends troops, then Russia's going to be like, I told you NATO would attack me. Now I can bring China or India or whoever the hell would side with him in, so that we can have a world war. Yeah, fun times. So that's why none of these countries are helping each other.
I'm a victim.
Yeah, even though it would be in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania's, and Poland's, probably even Finland's best interest to actually help Ukraine win this war, they can't do it without escalating it into a world war. So, the EU loans are part of a plan by the group of 7 major industrializations called the G7 to take advantage of interest earned on or about 250 billion worth of frozen Russian assets, most of them held in Europe. So they're taking those frozen assets and putting them in to Ukraine. These windfall profits are estimated to be around 4.5 billion to 5.5 billion euros, or $5 billion to $6 billion a year. The profits underpin the G7 plan. The EU would stump up 20 billion, the US 20 billion, and Canada, Japan, and the UK 10 billion together, for a combined total of 50 billion. The scheme expires at the end of the year before the next US president takes office. So it doesn't matter if Trump's going to become president, because it's Biden who's president now, and he's the one who decides if they're going to participate or not. Obviously, whoever becomes president can cancel, I guess, sending the money. So I guess that's why they're still trying to make sure, just in case, right? Trump is on their side, but it's not going to happen. Trump isn't on their side, and they shouldn't even be wasting energy on it, to be honest. They should be putting energy into making sure he doesn't get elected.
Harris says Trump's peace plan is called surrender. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Just give them all your land. Secede all your land. You lost.
Give them everything they want.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And then watch Poland go, okay, now we gotta build up our border and start drafting people and shit. Watch our cities get bombed.
Because now he's gonna invade us in the next 5 years once he gets all his people back up. Yep. Now, amid differences over how long the Russian asset freeze should be guaranteed, the EU has decided to go it alone. Its offer of up to 39 billion in loans accounts for almost the entirety of the US share as well. The US wants to ensure that the assets are locked away for at least 3 years to guarantee the income. But the EU member Hungary, there it is, Hungary getting in the way again, who's also under the thumb of Putin, insists that it should only happen in a 6-month increments. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán styles himself as a peacemaker and is too close to Putin for many of his partners' comfort. The other 26 EU countries feel they must move now because time is running out. Yeah, the longer we take, the more chances Russia, which is a bigger country, has to get another some sort of momentum building. The EU's election is just weeks away. The Europeans are wary of Trump's unpredictability and are testing scenarios to help protect themselves from the kind of battering, like tariff hikes their economy is receiving during his past presidency, but they also see the Democrats as more inward-looking these days. Yeah, they're not looking to help Ukraine, they're looking to fix the country that, keeps on getting destroyed every time a Republican gets into office, according to them. I can't name everything. I don't have an itemized list of all the things Democrats and Republicans have done. But for the general kind of feel, Democrats always believe, now we have to fix everything. The Republicans broke. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act left European leaders fuming over rules that favored American products. China and war in the Middle East are the foreign policy priorities of Democrat or Republican candidates alike, and for now, the U.S. is in a grip of election campaign fever. The EU hopes that Vice President Kamala Harris, if she is elected president, would enter the loan program as previously planned and reduce the EU's financial burden. But that remains an open question for now, and the EU members say Ukraine's position is too precarious to hesitate. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here as well. Other than global influence, if Russia were to conquer the entirety of the EU, what does the US care? They would just lose a large portion of economic global power, right? Because being able to trade with the EU. But also, the US likes trading with China, which is why they're constantly focusing on China, because they also like doing that. So it's just kind of sadly, the EU is seen as a small place in Americans' eyes. As somebody who grew up in America, right? We think of the EU as a small, tiny place with no power and doesn't do anything for anybody. But the EU has the same population as the United States. The same, like not 7 countries, but the entirety of Europe, even the ones not in the EU even, right? They have the same population as the United States. So trying to think that they're somehow smaller, they're not smaller. Maybe geographically they're smaller, but they have just as much people. So they just have, if you could argue they have just much ability to create a high GDP as anywhere else. If people are, well, we're in capitalism, right? So people are your power. So if you have a lot of people working, you have a lot of money. Political delay in the US Congress last year over a $60 billion support package starved Ukrainian troops of weapons and ammunition for months, resulting in real consequences on the battlefield, in the words of NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Helping Ukraine in military terms is a challenge for the Europeans. They could not do it alone. They cannot match the US transport, logistics, and equipment superiority despite progress in ramping up their defense industry to supply arms and ammunition. Yeah, you can't really compete with the most invested military in the world, unfortunately. You had to start doing that 20 years ago if you wanted to be able to compete with the US. That's just a fact. But the world's biggest trading bloc does wield economic might. It has already given Ukraine about $132 billion since the full-scale invasion started. Within weeks, it appears ready to provide tens of billions more, even though going it alone is not in the EU's DNA. I do not know what the Americans, the United States with the new presidency, will do or not, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said on Tuesday, the 24th of September. But he said, as long as the Ukrainians want to resist, we have to support them. Otherwise, we will make a historical mistake. The Biden administration did announce on the 25th of September that the US will send Ukraine a major military aid package, including cluster bombs and an array of rockets, artillery, and armored vehicles. A US official also said billions of dollars more in assistance would arrive over the coming months. That's signed and sent, so that's not going to change no matter who's president. Meanwhile, deliberations on the EU's share of the G7 loan package will be high on the agenda of a summit of the bloc's leaders in Brussels on October 17th to 18th. So I guess we'll hear more about that next month at the end of October, or I guess the middle of October, to see what they will decide for this G7 loan package. That's my news coming out of Ukraine and Brussels, along with the US. On to your 2 stories. Oh, give me a sec.
Okay, updating the hurricane. I was just looking at the hurricane map, and it looks like where I live currently is at the outer edge of the hurricane's tornado watch band. So you might be seeing some tornado watches even here from Hurricane Helene, which is still in Florida. It's a big old hurricane affecting all kinds of weather. And it's not even headed this way. It's going to head and make a left turn and go up to like Nashville as it weakens. Okay, so we're going to update this from the Weather Channel, and they're going to have several updates here. Helene makes landfall, 3 dead, 2 million plus without power. This is from the Weather Channel, or weather.com, as their website says. At 4 a.m., deaths confirmed in Florida and Georgia. Authorities confirmed 1 storm-related death in Tampa, Florida, where a falling sign struck a car. 2 additional deaths occurred in Wheeler County, Georgia, when a mobile home was tossed by the storm. In Florida alone, 1.2 million homes and businesses are without power as of 4:30 a.m., according to Power Outages US. Georgia and South Carolina account for another 650,000 and 240,000 outages, respectively, ahead of Helene. Authorities have warned of extended power outages lasting up to a week in some of the hardest-hit locations. 5 a.m., Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina proclaimed an official state of emergency, activating the National Guard and swift water rescue teams. At 5:40 a.m. in Pinellas County, which is in Florida, Pinellas County, Florida, or Pinellas County, however you say it, Florida Department of Emergency 911 emergency crews are extremely busy responding to hundreds of structure fire and water rescue calls in the heavily impacted areas. The agency says many areas remain flooded. At 5:50 a.m., a reporter on the scene at Crystal River, Florida, reports dozens of residents being rescued from their homes due to major storm surge flooding. Photos show residents being escorted by rescue officials one while carrying a pet dog. At 6:05 a.m., fire crews rescued some residents of Peachtree Creek Apartments in the north of Atlanta. Photos showed residents being escorted out of the apartment complex via boat. According to ABC News, around 11 people were rescued from the complex, with others refusing to leave. Peachtree Creek entered major flood stage, reaching a height of more than 23 feet. 23 feet. That's pretty big flood stage there. In the 6:25 a.m., emergency services suspended Liberty County, Georgia. Emergency services suspended. In a Facebook post, officials from the Hinesville Police Department in Georgia announced that emergency services are temporarily suspended as a result of Helene. Liberty County has suffered significant damage because of Hurricane Helene. At this time, all emergency services have been suspended. Travel in Liberty County is hazardous to impossible. Currently, we are underwater, is what we're saying. And there's your updates on the Florida up to 6:25 a.m., which is like an hour and a half ago. Hurricane Helene has made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane near Perry, Florida, bringing devastating storm surge, severe winds, and heavy rain. At least 3 people have died as a result. And there's your update. There's, I just looked at a map as update I was just mentioning, that his track kind of gets up towards Atlanta, and then starts heading west towards like Tennessee. And
I also saw some social media posts from people who were live streaming them not evacuating their houses. Oh, my house is flooded and now we're on the 2nd floor. And then they said, don't worry, the Coast Guard will come save me. It's like, the Coast Guard's not coming for you, buddy. The Coast Guard's not coming.
Coast Guard.
They at some point, you're responsible for your own consequences, and if you did not evacuate, they're not going to send extra people for one person, okay? Unless there's like a school of children trapped on the 2nd floor. Sorry, buddy, you're on your own. They're not sending one ship to go save you, okay?
Yeah, one neighbor with a boat might help you, but...
Oh, that's what happened, but then the boat got destroyed, so then the boat sank, so who knows what happened to that person. Everyone's like, we have no idea what's happened to this person who was live streaming. We're just going to assume they are dead. Because they haven't had any updates.
It's going to hurt their roof.
Yeah.
Well, because the power went out and they couldn't charge their batteries, and
I'm sure
Wi-Fi is probably out everywhere, right? Who knows, right? Who knows? Again, live streaming their hurricane is great for storm chasers. I mean, but stay in your... if they tell you to evacuate, take it seriously.
Just do it.
What do you think? You're going to save your house from floods? And you're not. You can move everything upstairs, sure.
Government's telling you to evacuate is their liability insurance. So once they say evacuate and you stay, you can't sue anybody or get anything. It's over for you. They said evacuate and you didn't. So now your life is in your own hands.
And you know the number. Right. And you know the number one reason people can't afford houses in Florida? It's not the cost of the houses. It's they can't get insurance. Insurance is ridiculous in Florida. So there you are, Florida. You get all this great low-cost housing in Florida, but it ain't worth anything if it's all gone. And you got no insurance. So in our other story today, we're going to update the Newsmax, the very low popularity Fox News clone, who is doing the exact same thing Fox News was doing, was spreading misinformation about the last presidential election. And the voting machines. One of those voting machine manufacturers is called Smartmatic, and they have sued. Well, they sued Fox News, who they're still settling with, and Newsmax. And Newsmax has settled their defamation lawsuit. This is from Sarah Fisher from Axios.com. Conservative cable news network, let's call them fascist cable news network, Newsmax, on Thursday settled a defamation lawsuit. It insults conservatives to call these fascist conservatives. I'm conservative in a lot of things. I'm definitely not a fascist. I don't go, oh, it's my way, and I'm a white guy. It's got to be my way. That's what fascism is, and that's what these Newsmax people are. They're fascist. They don't tell you the news. They try to tailor the news to you to make sure you are on their side, and to keep us divided with ignorance. Conservative cable network Newsmax on Thursday settled a defamation lawsuit by voting machine company Smartmatic, narrowly avoiding a high-profile trial over the airing of 2020 election falsehoods. Why it matters? Ahead of the 2024 race and beyond, the settlement and the third involving 2020 election in the past 2 years shows the cost of airing election lies. Newsmax rival OAN settled another defamation lawsuit by Smartmatic in April. Newsmatic rival OAN is not really a rival. They're just the same flavor of news. You know, it's just poorly watched, poorly reported news. OAN has probably been booted off most cable systems. I don't even see it. Newsmax should be too. Anyway, Newsmax rival OAN settled another defamation lawsuit by Smartmatic in April. Fox's $787 million settlement of a defamation lawsuit by Dominion Voting Systems last year marked one of the largest media defamation payouts in history. Newsmax and Smartmatic settled just as the jury selection was underway. They waited all that crap to just finally get a settlement. For a trial set to begin in a few days, details in the agreement were not made immediately available. Lying to the American people has consequences. Smartmatic will not stop until the perpetrators are held accountable, as a Smartmatic spokesperson said. Newsmax said on its website it was pleased to announce it's resolved the litigation bought by Smartmatic through a confidential settlement. Yeah, well, what is it going to be confidential? This is just horse shit. Fuck this confidential shit. Leak this. Somebody leak it. Smartmatic filed a defamation lawsuit against Newsmax and conservative cable rival One American News in 2021. A judge rejected Newsmax's bid to reduce the number of defamatory statements being considered as part of the lawsuit and procedural grounds in 2023. What's next? Newsmax faces similar defamation lawsuit over airing the 2020 election falsehoods from Dominion Voting Systems. That case is set to go on trial next April. Smartmatic's $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News is expected to go to trial next year. I hope they get it all. Of course, Fox News will wait until after the election and then they'll settle because they don't want to admit their lies for this new upcoming election, that they're all going to fucking sit there and lie a bold-faced lie for weeks and weeks and weeks after the election going, oh, there's some legitimate concerns out there. No, there is no legitimate concerns. There never was. It was all horse shit. And here we are, 4 years later, with half of the country not believing the elections. Thanks a lot, you fucking lying sacks of shit, Newsmax, OAN, and Fox News. Liars, liars, pants on fires. Back to you.
Hello, Mohammed there in chat, who's asking if you are stuck in 2009. So I'm not sure what that means, but I guess
what does that mean?
I have no idea. But that's what he's asking in chat. Are you stuck in 2009? I don't know. I can't remember what 2009 was like because I was still in high school. So that's a long time ago for me as well.
What the hell does that even mean, 2009? Must have something to do with the Putin thing, huh?
And no clue.
Let's go ahead and call it. Well, clarify yourself. Don't just say random things that nobody knows what you're talking about.
Well,
I'm stuck in 2009.
Welcome to the internet. That's how they are in chat. They just say random stuff. You have to guess what they're trying to say.
Oh, I definitely interact with trolls, and I call them every name in the book, and they go away. And they go away like little babies, like little tit babies they are. Anyway.
No, I agree. Okay, let's go to my next story, which is about a unification of Ireland. Now, this is something I've always hoped for in my life. I want Ireland to unify. I want Scotland to become independent. You know, Wales, Cornwall, if they want to be independent too, they can make the unified Gaelic states or something. Because England is not Gaelic whatsoever. They're Germanic, French, and English. Anyways, if you want to unify under a language, that is. But anyways, so Varadkar, if I'm pronouncing their name right, is proposing a two-stage referendum. This is by David Young on The Independent. Former Irish Premier Leo Varadkar has proposed a two-stage referendum process for a potential future vote on the reunification of Ireland. anybody knows any history about Ireland, it's a religious thing. Most of these kind of partitioned countries are usually a religion thing. So you've got, I think, the Catholics in Northern Ireland, or maybe it's the other way. The Catholics in Southern Ireland and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. And because they had different religions, they decided, I'm going to join the United Kingdom, and the rest of us are not going to do that. And that's exactly why there was the Troubles. I believe back in the 80s and 90s, Ireland was bombing people and killing politicians and all sorts of stuff because they just wanted to leave the United Kingdom. And I think the UK has forgotten about that because I guess Scotland needs to do that. I don't want them to commit terrorism, but it seems like they don't think that they won't make any changes unless there's some sort of terrorism happening and people start dying. And they're like, okay, we'll let you leave the country. But anyways, so ever since then, because Northern Ireland wanted to stay in the United Kingdom, there's been a place called Northern Ireland. And Mr. Varadkar suggested that they should try for a reunification. An initial vote where people on both sides of the border would decide whether they agree in principle with constitutional change, and then a final confirmatory ballot once the structures and constitution of the new political entity were designed and presented to the public. So the idea is, hey, how are you guys feeling? What's the vibe here? Unifying. And then if they get like a pretty good vote, well, I think even if they don't get a pretty good vote, they're just looking to see, you know, who's into it, you know, who here would do it. And then after that, they would make an actual structure, say this is how it's going to work, this is how we're going to deal with all these problems. It'll probably take 5 years or something to come up with a plan of what a new Ireland political entity would be like, especially with all of the 1998 is when Good Friday peace happened. Yeah, so 1998, it's only been 20 plus years since that happened. So under the terms of the Good Friday Peace Agreement of 1998, the UK government is obliged to call a referendum in Northern Ireland if there is an evidence of a shift in public opinion in favour of unity. In the event, there would be a simultaneous vote in the Republic of Ireland. The peace accord does not currently envisage a two-stage process as suggested by former Fine Gael leader Mr. Varadkar. The I really need to learn how to say this word, because it's an Irish word, and every time we talk about Ireland, it comes up. I never know how to say it, because I know it's not pronounced this way. It's a Gaelic word. Let me listen here. Taoiseach. So, the ex-Taoiseach, who stepped down earlier this year, outlined that idea and a series of other proposals as he addressed school children at an event in Londonderry, hosted as part of the SDLP's New Ireland Commission initiative. Mr. Varadkar also urged all parties contesting the forthcoming general election in the Republic of Ireland to make unification an objective rather than just an aspiration. Yeah, I mean, 20 years isn't too long. You guys aren't like, I don't know, like North Korea and South Korea. That's a long time, you know. It's going to be hard. If they wanted to unify, that would be a hard-working unification. But Ireland, it's not that unthinkable. The TD, who is not seeking a re-election, said he would like to see all parties dedicate a section of their manifestos to the issue. He said the next Irish government should boost funding in the state's existing Shared Island Initiative and also set up its own commission to examine reunification. He also insisted that a new Ireland would have to be co-designed alongside those of British identity. I mean, it's already like that. Ireland is part of the EU, so just being part of the EU, you have to have this multicultural identity to begin with, because you're letting people come freely into your border without any border checks, for the most part. You're part of the Schengen zone. You're not sitting here going, oh, you're not allowed to come here because you're English. You know, that's not happening. Well, it is happening now because of Brexit, but before, it wasn't a big deal. He also proposed that the unified state could have a president and a vice president, one of whom would form the unionist British tradition. The former premier said a unified Ireland would also need to strike international defence agreements and partnership in order to protect its sea and airspace. With regard to his proposed two-stage referendum, Mr. Varadkar acknowledged that it could prove controversial. One idea that I've suggested is it might be a terrible idea, but I think it's worth thinking about in a two-stage process. One where people vote on the idea in principle, and then we have a convention that works out the details in the new constitution, and people get to do a confirmatory vote, he said. A lot of people think that's a bad idea, because they want the clear question first, but it's not one that I think should be thrown out. It's something I think should be thought about. And I am conscious that the new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, actually advocated this approach in relation to Brexit, called for the second vote on the deal. So it's not an entirely crazy idea, one that's been suggested before. While schools from across Derry were invited to yesterday's event, which was the 26th of September, in the city's playhouse, only schools from the Catholic education sector attended. Mr. Varadkar acknowledged that many unionists and loyalists do not wish to engage in discussion about Irish unification. He said he would take a similar stance if asked to consider the Republic of Ireland rejoining the UK. Why would they do that? Aren't they having a great time being part of the EU? But he said, I guess voting the initial in principle ballot might persuade skeptics to get involved in the process of designing the new state. There are people who are very strong and avowed unionists who will never want to have this conversation, just as I wouldn't want to engage in a conversation about the Republic of Ireland joining the United Kingdom. I guess that's me too, huh? No, I don't think so. Hey, would you guys come back? No.
Yeah.
There's a reason they were bombing people in the 90s. Hello?
No, yeah. Well, that was back in the 1920s when they got their independence.
I mean, when you have an entire racist slur for a population in your union, there's a problem, you know? Terrible. I wouldn't be interested in that, so that is a real difficulty for us, he said. But I do think there are people who come from a Protestant background, or come from a Protestant unionist loyalist background, who don't necessarily vote for unionist parties anymore, who might be interested in engaging. They might vote Alliance, they might vote SDLP or Green, or they might not vote at all. But I do think there are people, and I've met them, who are interested in having this conversation, and they're coming from a background that traditionally would be Protestant or Unionist. Are people really still religious this day? I guess Irish people do have that stereotype of still believing in their Catholic values. In a way, the religion isn't the important part, but the religion has painted their traditions and values. So even if they don't celebrate by going to church every Sunday or every day, they still have those values embedded in their cultural identity. But it is one of the ideas why I think there is some merit in considering a two-stage referendum. Because if we have the first stage and people north and south voted for unification in principle, I think you might then get a larger number who would accept the democratic outcome and might be willing to engage in the co-design of what the new Ireland looks like. Mr. Varadkar said the concept of accommodating people from a British identity in a new Ireland did not go far enough. It's really important that we don't try to accommodate them in a new Ireland, but that we try and design the new Ireland with them. So that's their home too, he said. Somebody said to me once that they really don't like the word accommodation, because accommodation is like a hotel. It's a B&B. It's somewhere where you get to stay, but it's not really your home. And what we have to do is make sure a united Ireland works to make sure that we co-design this, at least with those who are willing to talk to us about it, and we make accommodations or make changes and concessions that I think would work. Mr. Varadkar said he felt that unity would be achieved in the coming decades. I hope for it myself. He cautioned it was by no means certain. He said that was why preparation was vital, as he warned that no vote in a referenda would knock the issue off the agenda for a long time. The ex-Fine Gael leader said unification was becoming a more attractive prospect for a variety of factors. He said the opportunity of Northern Ireland rejoining the EU through unification was one pull factor. Mr. Varadkar also said the economy, health service, childcare support and welfare system were all better state in Republic of Ireland than in Northern Ireland. And that's probably not just because the UK is bad, but because London famously ignores everybody but London. So whenever they passed national rules, they're usually national rules that help people in London and maybe not people in Cornwall or Northern Ireland or the Highlands of Scotland. You know, those people are mostly getting ignored because they're very small in compared to the giant population of London, who has 20 voting blocks in it. Just one city has 20 voting blocks, 20 MPs, you know, compared to, you know, that one northern Scottish, by Aberdeen, I think. The area by Aberdeen is 200 people live here or something, you know? They don't care about those guys. So...
Aberdeen has more than that.
Yeah. Something like... No, maybe I was thinking of... Iverson? Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, Northern Ireland is a large territory of the United Kingdom, but they're over there. You know, they're over there across the water. They're not right here in London, so that just tends to happen with a centralized government.
They're not about to give it up, are they?
Yeah. I don't know what they get there. Beef? I don't know. So I think we're on a very different place than we were 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago, he said. The case for unification, the arguments for unification are a lot stronger than they were then because of things that have changed. So we'll see what happens. I guess when there's
big manufacturing.
When there's a new leader of Ireland, what they'll put in their manifest, and if any work will be moved on towards this topic. But that's my story on Irish unification. On to yours.
Okay, the Troubles you spoke of.
The Troubles.
Those existed my entire life until about 1998. The Troubles. 30 years of the Troubles.
30 years of the Irish telling the UK they don't want to be part of their country, and 30 years of them ignoring it.
Alrighty, back to the United States, where we have New York City mayor news. One current mayor and one former mayor. Eric Adams. This is from BusinessInsider.com. Maria Noyan, Alcina Lloyd, and Jacob Shamsian. Eric Adams gave Diddy a key to New York City a year ago. They were both charged with crimes this month. In September 2023, New York City Mayor Eric Adams gave a hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs a key to the city. Oh yeah, give that guy a key to the city. While both are known for their party-loving lifestyle, it's unclear if they're actual friends. Okay, about a year ago, New York Mayor Eric Adams gave Sean Combs, the music mogul known as Diddy, a key to the city about his crimes. It could be a rap song. Both are now facing criminal charges and a stunning fall from grace. Well, I don't know if Diddy ever had grace. He was more of a, kind of a scumbag. It's the first time I ever heard of him.
I would say P. Diddy was whitewashed, you know? So everyone, all the white people didn't know about his crimes or anything he did, right? He didn't know They didn't know about his street cred. You know?
Yeah, white people are like, which rapper is he? He's a rapper, whatever, he's a rapper. And then it's like, isn't he just like Snoop Dogg? No, Snoop Dogg is nothing like P. Diddy. Sorry, they're not the same. Snoop Dogg, good guy. P. Diddy, not so good guy. Anyway, during the ceremony at Times Square, Adams handed Diddy a key, a symbol of recognition when New Yorkers have achieved remarkable success. Diddy was born in Harlem in 1969 and later attended Catholic school in the Bronx. Adams, now 64, also proclaimed the day Diddy Day. I want to thank you all for this honor and for recognizing me as a proud New Yorker, presenting me the key to the city. Diddy, now 54, said during the ceremony. Now he can't even get a key to the jail cell because he's still sitting in the hot box without bail. Earlier this year, Adams requested Diddy return the key in light of the growing controversy surrounding the rapper, which crested last week when Diddy was arrested and indicted on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Diddy has said he's innocent. Adams is now also in a legal hot seat. He wanted to get the key to the city back, which you give me the key to the city, it's my fucking key. You don't get it back. Sorry. Too late. No, what's a little game you call? Never mind. I forgot my train of thought there. It isn't too late. No givesies, backsies, no Indian giving, or whatever you call it. In an indictment unsealed Thursday morning, federal prosecutors accused the mayor of years-long public corruption. Prosecutors say that Adams solicited bribes from foreign nationals, Turkey, to support his political campaigns and his personal travel. The indictment states over roughly 10 years, he accepted various gifts such as complimentary or discounted Turkish airline flights, vacations, and luxury hotels and yacht trips.
Paid out by Turkey, huh?
Turkey. Yeah. What's his name? Erdogan. That's his buddy. Adams has said he is not guilty. If convicted, he faces a prison sentence of up to 45 years. Adams is up for re-election in 2025. I don't see him running. Diddy and Adams are at the. That is the caption for a picture. Okay. Combs is known for throwing annual glitzy white parties in the Hamptons. Adams, who has nicknamed himself the nightlife mayor, is often seen frequenting late-night hotspots and flashy members-only clubs, including Zero Bond.
And he's proud of that.
Adams
as a politician. He's
did not immediately respond for. I'm sorry?
And he's proud of that as a politician. I'm the party mayor, and he's proud of that. That's yeah, okay.
Yeah. From a mayor who went to complete shit right away to a mayor who waited a few years to go to complete shit. Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York. Rudy Giuliani, this is from NBCnews.com. Rebecca Shabad. Rudy Giuliani disbarred in Washington after losing New York law license. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani has been disbarred from practicing law in Washington, D.C., according to an order filed Thursday by the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. Giuliani, previously a lawyer for defendant Jay Trump, was suspended from the bar in D.C. in July 21, and the two boards had previously recommended his law license be permanently revoked over his efforts to overturn results of the 2020 presidential election. Both panels had pointed out Giuliani trying to get thousands of votes for President Joe Biden tossed out of the battleground state of Pennsylvania that year. The D.C. Board on Professional Responsibility sent a report in June that there is a clear and convincing evidence that Giuliani violated Pennsylvania rules of professional conduct and therefore should be disbarred. The disciplinary board for the D.C. Bar Association made a similar argument in a lengthy decision last year, writing that Giuliani claimed massive election fraud but had no evidence of it. The board said his utter disregard for facts denigrates the legal profession. Utter disregard for facts. That should be a Republican motto. Utter disregard for facts. We just make shit up.
Alternate
We're eating
truths.
dogs.
The party of alternate truths.
Exactly. Gaslighting on a daily basis. As they say now, the GOP stands for gaslight, obstruct, and project.
Oh, really?
The GOP.
That's great.
Yeah. Giuliani's effort to undermine the integrity of the 2020 presidential election has helped destabilize our democracy, the board wrote. His malicious and meritless claims have done lasting damage and are agnostic to the oath to support the Constitution of the United States of America, and he swore when he was admitted to the bar. In a statement to NBC News, Giuliani spokesman Todd Goodman said Thursday that the decision of appeals court is an absolute travesty and a total miscarriage of justice. Okay, take it from a guy who lies all the time. And said that members of the legal community should immediately speak out against this partisan, politically motivated decision. Nah, it ain't partisan. You're just a hack. The guy who held a briefing at the Four Seasons lawn care facility, yeah, he's got a lot of integrity. Never saw anything like that in my life. I still can't get over that. You're supposedly the president's attorney, and now you're holding a briefing at some lawn care facility's backyard. It's just so wrong. They thought it was the Four Seasons Hotel. It's so fucking funny. Anyway, the people coming after Mayor Giuliani can't take away the fact that he remains one of the most effective prosecutor in American history. They're bringing up shit he did before he was the mayor of New York. Like, okay, back when he was in his 20s, you know, who did more to improve the lives of others.
I was a great lawyer. It means I should be a mayor, and I should be it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
I can't read this with a straight face. This sentence is ridiculous.
I could make a really good cake. You know what that means? I should rule an entire country because I can make a really good cake. That's the same Like,
I should get to lie. I should get to lie about people. Don't forget, Giuliani's having to sell all of his shit to pay off Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman in Georgia because he got sued and he lost big time. Anyway, the people coming. This is the funniest part. The people coming after Mayor Giuliani can take away the fact that he remains the most effective prosecutor in American history, who did more to improve the lives of others than almost any other American alive today. I'm sorry.
wow, that's a
He didn't
lot.
do shit to improve anybody's life.
What do lawyers do to improve
He has never
lives?
improved
Exactly.
anyone's
I'm
life.
sorry.
I have no idea. He was the mayor of New York. He had power over New York. Didn't do shit for anybody else. While he was mayor of New York, he
cover
hired a chief of
9/11
police
terribly?
and decided
Didn't he
to
do a shit job?
shake people down.
Didn't he do a terrible job when 9/11 happened? Wasn't he mayor when that happened?
Well, he was the idiot who moved the emergency response center to the ground floor of one of the World Trade Center buildings. So they were all killed on 9/11, so they couldn't respond. Yeah.
He didn't
That
do
was
a
really
good job, as I
intelligent.
remember. He, like,
After
not-
it was bombed once.
Yeah.
After it was bombed once, he moved the emergency response center to the same building that was bombed. It makes no fucking sense. Why would you why would you centrally locate anything like that? Anyway. Giuliani has lost the law license in New York State in July over his actions to disseminate lies about voter fraud in the 2020 election. Separately, he faces charges in Arizona and Georgia over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election in both states. Don't forget, he can still go to prison in Georgia and Arizona. Arizona, mistakenly, the grand jury wanted to indict Trump, but the prosecutor said, "Oh, that's too hard," and decided not to do it. So there's your story on Giuliani, just disgraced former mayor of New York, and the update on the current disgraced mayor of New York. Back to you.
I guess they just really attract the best
And I
people,
sent you a video.
Okay.
Sent you a video. Just start it from the beginning and stop it whenever you want to. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
For my culture segment, we're going to list off some 13 films that you should see at this year's BFI London Film Festival. If you're going, and if you're not going, I guess put them on your future watch list because they might be Oscar hopefuls in the future. We're not going to go on to an in-depth reading of every single film, but I'll just name them and then look for a keyword in the paragraph, and that's what it's about. So this is from Your News Culture by David Morquand. He made this list. So, the UK's most prestigious film festival returns next month, and this year's 68th edition of the BFI London Film Festival, LFF, features an impressive lineup. During the festival's 11 days, from the 9th to the 20th October, audiences will be treated to more than 110 films, starting with the premiere of Steve McQueen's Blitz on the opening night, continuing with some eagerly anticipated titles like Palestinian filmmaker Laila Abbas, Thank You for Banking With Us, and Irish director Darren Thornton's comedy drama Four Mothers, before ending with Pharrell Williams' doc Piece by Piece. A lot of films that previously premiered in Berlin, Cannes, Venice, and Toronto, and there are a handful of world premieres keeping things lively. It's a pretty huge selection of films to get through without taking into consideration the numerous screen talks with the likes of Steve McQueen, Zoe Saldana, Andrea Arnold, Lupita Nyong'o, and Mike Leigh, to name but a few. So, considering that the Euronews has been lucky enough to attend several film festivals and have significant chunks of the lineup here, Euronews Culture's picks are some of the best films for the screening for LFF. So, April competition. This is a film about abortion. An obstetrician working in rural Georgia who performs clandestine abortions. So if that is a tagline you care about, check that out. On Becoming a Genuine Fowl competition. This is a zombie and Welsh filmmaker's film. It starts with a woman named Shula wearing a silver helmet and a superb jumpsuit that makes her look like Missy Elliott's rightful heiress. So if you love Missy Elliott, check out that film. On Becoming a Genuine... On Becoming a Guinea Fowl. like Guinea country. Honora headline gala. Honora won a Palme d'Or at Cannes Festival, so that's pretty good. It's about the son of a Russian oligarch. Emily Perez headline gala. This one had the first trans performer to ever win a award, and is cast with Zoe Saldana, Selena Gomez, and Carla Sofia Gascon, which I think we've talked about it before. I think during the Cannes or one of the other festivals I did a segment on. I think we talked about that. The Room Next Door. That's also in the headline gala. We also talked about this. It was about the pro-euthanasia film that was coming out in the event, and one event is Gold Lion, starring Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore. As Tilda Swinton works on, her character works on, I want to die. I have cancer and I don't want to be here anymore. Bird, also in the headline gala. This is armed with a stunning collection of needle drops. Arnold's direction and use of songs revealed a poignant film about metamorphosis in all its forms, to be about finding hope in everyday turmoil. The Seed of the Sacred Flag. This is a special presentation. It's about people who clandestinely fled Iran, and about the protests, or it's by people who clandestinely fled Iran 2 weeks before the protests sparked by Mahsa Amini's death happened. So it's kind of like a biopic, maybe based on a true story of what it was like to be in Iran when that happened. Queer, special presentation. It's an aging gay man asked the object of his affections to travel to the deepest South America to discover a psychedelic drug called Yage, ayahuasca. The film turns away from a sweaty push and pull relationship and morphs into a fascinating Orphean retelling about the search for oneself. We All Imagine as Light, special presentation. Oh wow, okay. Director Paya Kapadia's immersive Cannes Grand Prix winning drama depicts how lives of 3 women intersect in the second feature film that shows the daily hardships of working class women in Mumbai. So it's all about Mumbai. Ainda estu aquí. I'm Still Here, special presentation. After a 12-year absence on big screen, you do well to celebrate the return of Brazilian filmmaker Walter Salles. So this is about a military-ruled Brazil in the 70s. And I guess a family who's trying to keep their family together during the Brazil in the 70s. 2073, a debate, screening at part of the festival's debate section. This film features a future in 2073 and serves as a warning and a way for us to recognize our alleged already triggered downfall before it's too late. Grand Tour by Miguel Gomez. Oh, Arabian Nights. Interesting. It won the Best Director Palm at the Cannes Festival. And also, it's appearing in LFF's Love section, which is filmed. It starts in the 1918 and charts how Edward in British Demlet loves his fiancée Molly, but seems pathologically commitment phobic. Architecton in the Thrill section is magnificently realized piece of meditative cinema about concrete and finding a new idea of beauty. As eye-roll inducing as it sounds, not a film you watch, but rather an immersive trip you experience. Les Femmes au Balcon, The Balconettes, in the Cult section. It's a gory, funny, feminist and chaotic film that is perfect midnight movie. Granted, it gets a bit messy and overly didactic towards the end, becoming a Me Too ghost story that needs to not spell things out so much. So if you want a feminist gore film, there you go, your cult classic right there. Rumors in the Laugh section. They got 2 people get stuck in a German forest and things get progressively weirder from there. It's a Bunelin farce with a heavy dose of Dawn of the Dead. A sharp scripted lampoon that runs out of steam towards the end and could have significantly stronger with 20 minutes or less. So those are your story. Let's go through all of them again, just the names. We've got
All right.
just the names here, because I went through a lot there. We've got April, On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, Honora, Emalia Perez, The Room Next Door, Bird, The Seed of Sacred Fig, Queer, All We Imagine as Light, Ainda Estu Aquí, I'm Still Here, 2073, Grand Tour, Architecton, and Les Femmes al Balcon, and finally, Rumors. So, those will all be showing on the 9th to 20th October at the BFI London Film Festival, and you can probably also put those on your list for possible films to see this year. That's my culture segment. On to This Day in History.
This day in history. Back before, as soon as we started recording history. We'll go back to 1540. The Jesuit order, founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola, was approved by Pope Paul III. The Jesuits. This was started a lot of colleges in America. Colleges like Georgetown and Marquette, things like that. 1590, 12 days after being elected Pope, Urban VII died, making his papacy the shortest in history. He didn't get nothing done. 12 days? Jeez, 12 friggin' days. That's not even enough to even order new furniture or anything. 1601, Louis XIII, King of France, from 1610 to 1643 was born. So happy birthday, Louis XIII. Had a lot of Louis. 1777, on this day, during the American Revolution, the Continental Congress, having fled Philadelphia, held a session in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, making the city the capital of the American colonies for one day. I wonder if you can go there.
Another short presence here, right there.
What's that?
Another short sit, right? 12-day Pope, 1-day capital.
Yeah, 1-day capital because Philadelphia is being occupied by British. And they probably just moved it to Boston or something. Or I don't know where they moved it. Didn't say where they moved it to. Maybe they moved it back to Philadelphia. Anyway, it ended up in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Maybe it was here. I don't know. In 1918, British forces attacked the Hindenburg Line on the final offensive of the Western Front during World War I, which ended in November of that year. 1954, 70 years ago today. Now, you probably didn't know the show was this old, but the landmark evening talk show 70 years ago, The Tonight Show, premiered as Tonight with Steve Allen as host. So 70 years, let's go over the host. They had Steve Allen, then it was Jack Parr, then it was Johnny Carson for about 30 years. After that was Jay Leno, and then Jay Leno gave it to
Conan for like
Conan.
a season.
Right. Conan got like 3 months, and then Jay Leno decided, Jay Leno was still the executive producer, and he said, I want that show back.
I actually recently watched a YouTube video about this. And the studio was disappointed in viewing numbers. Like, you're not supposed to have some sort of change in viewing numbers when you change a host, right? You change a host to a totally different guy, and then you expect it to stay the same as the previous guy. So, yeah, messed up.
What these TV executives didn't realize at the time is American viewing habits were changing, that people aren't going to watch as much TV, and they're never going back again, right? It's never going to be the same. And they didn't realize. They didn't figure that into their calculation. But Jay Leno was not any better. And he was replaced with Jimmy Fallon, who is now the host. But Jay Leno decided to finally give it up.
Maybe
all right, in 1962 on this day. Do you remember DDT?
DDT. No, I don't. That doesn't sound familiar.
Yes. It was an insecticide that was killing birds. But the reason DDT is no longer used, although some countries still use it, to control malaria, the reason DDT is no longer, now you'd think as a common citizen you don't have any power, but the reason DDT is no longer used is because one woman wrote one book, and it's called Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, was published and became one of the most influential books in the modern environmental movement. This lady out in Long Island noticed that all of her birds were dying. And why? Because we're spraying pesticides. Anyway, it took a while, but DDT got banned. And the birds came back. Yay, birds! 1964, following months of... Yeah. We'll deal with little freaking worms in our apples. We'll just... don't kill all the birds. 1964, following months of investigation into the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy, the War Commission released its report. It's whitewashed. Oh, it was a single gunman acting alone, which is complete horseshit that nobody believes. But whatever. Since Bobby Kennedy was on it, they decided, it must be legit. But Bobby Kennedy was probably getting blackmailed to say whatever, and of course later ended up dead. So, Bobby Kennedy was up to a lot of stuff he didn't want his family to know about. Marilyn Monroe, for instance, right? 1996, the Taliban, led by Mohammed Omar, seized the capital of Kabul, declaring all of Afghanistan Islamic State. And 5 years later, after they gave aid and comfort to Osama bin Laden, he had recruited enough terrorists to attack the United States, and then we got this long, protracted war in Afghanistan, and we couldn't get out of it, and blah, 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 blah.
And then it didn't even do anything like that projected war. It didn't really do anything, because as soon as America left, the Taliban just took back over again. So what was the whole point? No, there was no point.
Trump basically let all the Taliban's prisoners out of prison, say, go back and become terrorists, and then Americans got killed. And of course, this whole thing can be blamed on Russia for invading Afghanistan in the first place, back in the 1979.
And also blamed for giving them weapons to begin with. Because both the U.S. and Russia gave weapons. We gave them weapons.
Yeah. The CIA armed what was called the Mujahideen back then.
Who became the Taliban.
And who was part of the Mujahideen back then, but Mr. Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Was a freedom fighter from... we were... And then, as soon as Russia pulled out, we said, fuck Afghanistan, and didn't aid them at all and let them fall apart, so...
And then...
Yeah. So again, Afghanistan, we just stay out of there and never go there. Just let them be, whatever, I don't know. We can't solve their problems. Religious stupidity is just a thing humans are stuck with. Not Americans, but humans are stuck with religious stupidity for some fucking reason. Anyway. 2008, the year that I'm not stuck in, 2008, Chinese astronaut Zhai Zhenggang performed China's first spacewalk. Not a moonwalk, a spacewalk. So Michael Jackson was not involved. In 2019, a week of international climate change protests led by youth, notably Swedish activist Greta Thunberg, ended with millions having participated in the demonstrations. And I don't know if Greta Thunberg was famous before that. I think she was. Anyway.
She had she went specifically all the way to the UN, I think, and said, do something about this. It's shameful that all you politicians sit around and argue about what to do instead of just doing anything at all. And I think that's why she was famous. She was famous before for that. She made it all the way to the UN to yell at them and tell them they're incompetent, basically.
Yeah, and of course, everybody listened. Just kidding, nobody did.
We've made some significant changes, but yeah. Governments are slow.
Nobody. Yeah, I suppose. Our featured event, and I brought this up the other day, the Battle of Hastings. It was in 1066. Yes, Norman conquest began on this day in 1066. After being delayed by bad weather, William, the Duke of Normandy, embarked his army and set sail for the southeastern coast of England in what would become known as the Norman Conquest. So, and that was the Battle of Hastings in the southern coast of England. Feature biography, Thomas Nast, American political caricaturist. He was born on September 27, 1840 in Landau, Germany. And he died December 7, 1902 in Ecuador. Guayaquil, Ecuador. He was died there. So went from Germany to Ecuador. Quite a life. All that time drawing cartoons. Other birthdays today: Samuel Adams, born in 1722, American politician, and beer named after him, Samuel Adams, and John Adams' brother, the second president of the United States. 1907, Bhagat Singh, Indian revolutionary, was born. 1965, Steve Kerr, American basketball player and coach, was born. 1965. Gwyneth Paltrow's birthday, 1972. So happy 52 to Gwyneth Paltrow. And Lil Wayne was born in 1982. So happy 42 to Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne. And those are your birthdays today. And what national days is it? It is national. We're combining these National Chocolate Milk Day, which I drink chocolate milk all the time. Love chocolate milk. Not necessarily the store-bought kind. I just get me some regular milk, and I like the lactose-free milk, right? It's no lactose, right?
Lactate or whatever.
Oh man! And when you add any kind of sugar to lactose-free milk, man, it really tastes good. So, chocolate milk and lactose-free chocolate syrup and lactose-free
well, you know,
milk.
Lactose is sugar, right? So it's mixing
but I don't like lactose. I like chocolate milk sugar.
Okay.
So I'm replacing
whatever they put in that chocolate milk, it's the best sugar.
Yeah, whatever, man. In the United States, they only put it's syrup, so corn syrup. It's mostly corn syrup, the sugar, the sweetener. It's National Crush a Can Day, which I do also. I crush my cans, aluminum cans, not any can. You get hard to crush them.
We don't crush our cans here. Because if you crush your can, you can't turn it in for your 10 cents or whatever. So you have to actually not crush your cans here. They crush your cans for you. So you just got to turn them in, not crush.
It's probably a barcode. They got to read.
The barcode. Yeah.
There's states like that too. I think like Michigan. It's National Brave Day.
Are you brave?
I don't know what that means. It's the fourth Friday of September, and it's stupid music in my ears. Every time I click anything on this site, it starts music, and it's the worst music I've ever heard.
Gives you like a big sound effect. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Ding, 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 like a fucking lame ringtone. On the fourth Friday, National Brave Day is honored women who lift each other up. Sometimes, there you go, that's what it is. National Brave Day. So be brave today. Oh, my screen locked up. Don't do that to me, bastard. It's National Corned Beef Hash Day, so that's pretty good for breakfast. Corned beef hash is like basically potatoes with corned beef. Or you can have other stuff. I think they're adding corn here. No, that's potatoes. It's National Gay Men's HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. We had HIV Awareness Day like a couple of weeks ago, so I guess we're having it again. No, it was for old
age. It was for people. It was for old people who get it. It's not just gay people, but old people can get it. Young people can get it. So it was just the that day was, hey, old people can also get HIV.
I suppose.
Check grandpa, because hey, they don't stop having sex just because they're old. Where do you think syphilis comes from? The most syphilis. Retirement homes. That's where you can find the most syphilis.
The highest concentration of STDs is in the villages in Florida.
Yeah.
So 70 and 80-year-olds.
Make sure you check Grandpa for HIV, so he's not giving it to everyone
else.
Grandpa's
a freak.
Because he's a freak.
Just stay away from Grandpa. Grandpa's a freak. National Day of Forgiveness. So if you've given somebody HIV, hopefully they forgive you. I probably won't. National Scarf Day. National Scarf Day. Wear a scarf and it's your day. So that's all the days for today. Get your corned beef hash on. It's those are your dates for today. September 27th, 2024 on Before Chocolate Milk in my case.
Okay, I hope this video plays. I'm not sure why it isn't.
Is it playing?
Yeah, well, I always test to see if it plays, so that, when we actually go live, it plays. But right now, it's not working. Where did it go?
You just gavel us out, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not playing. Maybe it's just
gavel
not.
It out. It's not a big deal. It was just the first Tonight Show in 1954.
No, it's playing for me, but it's not playing on the actual. It's whatever. Okay, I can play it myself, and you're playing it for yourself anyways.
Right, so we'll talk over it, and you can insert it
Uh,
later.
this is Allison here from the Netherlands. I've done my hair while you're doing your your in this day in history. We will see you next week for Mucking Fun Day. So have a good weekend. Don't stay in your house if they tell you to evacuate. Your house is not worth your life.
It's too late. It's way too late to evacuate.
Yeah.
Too late.
Well,
It's
I'm
over.
just saying,
You
just
stay
in the future.
Stay in your house.
Just in the future, wherever you are,
Yeah.
If they told me to evacuate right now, I would. Because, well, it's even worse in the Netherlands because we're also like Florida. We're underwater. And if a canal breaks, something bad is really happening because they pay attention to that stuff to make sure we don't flood. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you get notified for next week's Mucking Fun Day. Like this video if you enjoyed learning about all those films you can watch at the film festival in London or corrupt New York mayors. And we will see you next week. Have a good weekend. Here's our mic drop moment. Okay, there it goes. It's playing. Whew. I started at 1 minute in, by the way.
You started a minute in?
Yeah.
Wow. Not prepared for that. Prepared for the show.
Oh, this audio is really quiet, huh?
Boy, we've been making
Oh no, they're clapping. They're just clapping so long. I thought he was talking, but he was just clapping so long.
Anyway, it's the first Tonight Show.
Well aware.
70 years ago today.
I'm very well aware.
Steve Allen.
That isn't at all amusing in Omaha or Chicago, but it's breaking us up around here. We've had the best engineering and production brains east of the Mississippi working on a clever opening for this program for about the last 3 months, ever since we planned to go on.
Wow, they worked for 3 months to get this Tonight Show running.
Move it and the city, we had Mayor Wagner at our beck and call. They were going to give us, the East River was going to flow the other way and all sorts of very exciting things. And about 20 seconds ago, a fella ran in and says the Cadillac remote unit had a flat tire. And, that's true. That was actually a live picture you were looking at. We really have a wonderful Cadillac.
Sleeps.
We have a car out there with a camera on it. And something happened. What the heck did happen to them? They were taking a picture all around Times Square. That was not movie film. You were actually seeing Times Square here in New York City. But what happened? Somebody goofed. That's it. They have 3 lenses on the camera, close, closer, and flat tire, I guess.
Close and
they had a little trouble with the third one. Anyway, in case you're just joining us, this is Tonight. And I can't think of too much to tell you about it, except I want to give you the bad news first. This program is going to go on forever.
This program's going to go on forever. I mean, it kind of has.
Wait till you see 1 o'clock roll around. It's a long show. Goes on from 11:30 here in the East, that is, from 11:30 to 1 in the morning. And we
11:30 to 1.
Selected this particular theater. This is a New York theater called the Hudson. And we especially
used to be a 90-minute show.
That's crazy. Yeah, they don't have 90-minute shows anymore.
Oh, I think it sleeps about 800 people.
Well, I guess it's starting again, right? HBO and Netflix have started making 8-episode seasons where it's, like 90-minute episodes.
The thing with the Cadillac didn't work out very good.
But it's still not common anymore.
This is kind of a mild little show. I don't expect you to say, boy, what a program.
Let me know when it
look at
fades.
it and...
I don't even know what spot you are.
In about a week.
10 seconds.
Think about it. It's not going to... It's
Just
not
watching
spectacular.
it wherever I'm watching it at.
It's going to be kind of a monotonous, I think. Is more the idea. I'll just be here, and I won't take up too much of your time.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, history of gravy, and scratchy old records.